Hi there, and welcome to this video in which I will go through some of the new features and added capabilities the Freqtrade trading bot has to offer. The last video I made about the bot is already a few months old, and in the meantime the developers did not stop adding functionalities to the program. So, therefore I thought it was time to go over these new functions to see what they do and which added benefits they have for trading and testing algorithmic strategies. And why not make a video out of it to inform you about this as well. Now this video will be somewhat of a hodgepodge with random stuff, because a lot of subjects are already covered in previous videos. Also a lot of changes are under the skin and too much to cover, and I'll only stick to the additions or changes that are added to the command line. This is the list of new or adjusted functions I want to show you, and I will leave timestamps in the description to each subject here below. Now, because there are so many changes happening to the bot, let's first start by looking on how you can keep yourself updated and informed to new functionalities or features, or the stuff that get deprecated. First of all, you can visit the bot's website at freqtrade.io, and on the main page here at the top you will find the latest version number and link to the GitHub repository. If you click on that link, then the browser will open the GitHub page, and at the right side you will find a header called Releases. In this case, the latest release is 2024.10, and it was released a couple of weeks ago. The release header is a clickable link, and if you click on it, another page will open with all the releases and information about them. For example, the 2024.10 release has changes concerning a new Strategy 101 documentation page, improved startup times for some subcommands, a new hyperopt function and other changes. And if you scroll down, then you can see earlier releases with all the changes that are implemented in these versions, like the Bybit support in release 2024.9 that I showed in my last video. If I scroll further down the list, you can see there are many other changes made to the bot in the last year. I think that this is the best way to keep being informed about the main newest features of the bot. So now that you know this, let's start with the first functionality of the bot and do some demonstrations. This is actually not a new function, but I think it's one of the most important ones to know, and that is the help function. By the way, in this video I am using Freqtrade as a server installation and not a Docker container, so to start the command is slightly different than with Docker. But once you know this, then everything is similar between both worlds. In this case I'll have to start up the Python virtual environment first, and then I'll use the Freqtrade command with the help argument. Here you get a list of all the arguments that are available with the Freqtrade command. Some of these arguments should be used with 2 dashes in front of them, like help and versions, and all the others can be directly used after the Freqtrade command. And also note that some of these require additional options. Now, to get know which additional options, you simply need to use the initial argument and then the H option to get help after that. For example, what I do here with the backtesting function, I add an additional H for help after it, and then after I press enter, a new list appears with all the options for that argument. Some of these options are mandatory and some are optional to be added after the initial backtesting argument, depending on what you want to do. If you just execute the initial argument without any options, you can get an error and it will tell you what it misses. In this case, it misses the config file location. And from here, you can build up the total command so that it eventually works. So now you know that if you need more information, the help function is very convenient, and if you are used to calling it this way, then in many cases you do not have to revert back to the online manual and can use the info that is right here on the screen. Now, before I get to the next command, first another message. I would also like to take the opportunity to tell you about my new ebook about algorithmic cryptocurrency trading for beginners. I created this resource with over 600 pages full of information for beginners, and it contains all the information that I needed when I was starting out in this field, such as information about crypto, trading with algorithms and risk management. It contains also practical information on how to create your own trading bot, your first trading algorithm, and how to backtest and analyze. And I'll also tell you about creating your own strategy comparison list and how to connect to an exchange to start automatic trading for real. So, by buying and reading this book, I believe you will have the necessary foundations to make a successful start in automatic algo trading. Okay, now the next function I want to show you is the list strategies argument. If you use this command without any options, by default it will look in the user data/strategies directory and scan all the files for possible strategies. And if it detects these, then a table is shown with the following information: the strategy name, file name, if the strategy has errors in the status column, if it can be optimized, and how many buy and sell parameters it has. Now, if your strategy has a load failed in the status column, then you can look for the log in your screen, and it could be that the reason for the error is visible over here. For example, in this case, I did not have the Bamboo TA library installed on this virtual machine. Now, this command does not have a lot of additional interesting options, except for the -1 option that shows only the strategy's name in one column. This could be convenient if you want to automate things. You can also point the command to look in another directory where you keep the strategies, like so. Or if you have saved your files in multiple subdirectories, you can also add the option to scan these as well here. The strategies in this list that are in the recursive paths can be recognized because the directory name is in front of it. And of course you can create combinations of these options to get the output you want. The Freqtrade list data argument scans the data directory for files and makes an inventory of it. You will need to have some additional information to the command if you have downloaded data from multiple exchanges. So in my case I have Binance and Bybit data saved, so therefore I have to add the exchange information to this command as well. After that, it will present a table that shows information about the pairs data you downloaded and all the time frames you have and the type of market data. If you use the -h option for help, you can see that there are not many other options here, except maybe for some other ways to select certain data formats with the format trading mode and time range option. The following command I want to show you is the Freqtrade list-hyperoptloss. With that command you can discover all loss functions in your environment if you want to use hyperparameter optimization. Now, for those who do not understand what this function does, if you are using the hyperparameter optimization function, then the hyperoptloss function defines what you want to maximize or minimize during the optimization process. For example, you want to maximize profitability, minimize drawdowns, or achieve a balance between risk and reward. You can use this subcommand to identify issues with your environment when loading hyperoptloss functions. If a module has an error or fails to load, it will be marked in red. If there are any hyperopt functions with duplicate names, they'll be highlighted in yellow. And you can use this function to spot and fix problems if you run into these when optimizing your strategy. And if you're really advanced and you have created your own loss function, then you can check the status of your function over here as well, for when you are troubleshooting, for example. This next command is useful if you are trying to find out if your preferred exchange is available and supported by the bot. You can get an overview of the exchanges that can be used by Freqtrade, although not all exchanges are 100% officially supported. However, nowadays there is a clear indication if they are officially supported, which markets are available, like spot or futures, and there is also a reasons column that contains the reason about some features that can cause problems if you still want to use that exchange. Two additional options that can be useful with this command are the -1 option, that only prints out the list of exchanges on your terminal without any other information, or the -a option that shows all the CCXT exchanges available, supported by the bot or not, together with a clear indication that these are absolutely not supported. The Freqtrade show config exactly does what it says. It shows you the configuration of the bot. By default, it searches for the config.json file in the user data directory, and if this is not found, it will give an error message like you can see on the screen now. However, if you do have a configuration called config.json, then it will be automatically found and printed in the terminal screen. If you want to open another configuration, then you'll have to use the -c option and add the configuration path you want to open after this. The download data argument has been well covered in other videos, but I'd still like to mention some additional options that were added to this command lately. For example, you now have a progress bar that shows you the status of the download. And another new addition is the download trades option, where you can download information about the actual trades made on the exchange. The documentation states that it only works with Kraken, but I could also download trades from Binance too. But for this demo, I will download Kraken trades data as follows. In my experience, the progress bar stays still until the data is downloaded and processed. But after that, you can open the file that is downloaded and see the trade information, in my case in a JSON file, because I explicitly ordered that in the command line. This information consists of a timestamp, a nonce, if it is a limit order or other, if it is a buy or sell order, the price, costs or fee, and the volume. This information can be useful if you want to make use of market data and actual trades made for your trading decisions. Now for the next items I want to discuss, these are not as much commands but more added functionality to the way you can select which pairs to trade. In the configurations.json file, there is a section where you have to provide information about the pairs you want to trade on the configured exchange. The oldest and most rigid option is the static pairlist option, where you can define your own preferred trading pairs in a JSON whitelist, and also can make use of a blacklist to specify the pairs you absolutely don't want to trade. Now, the use of a static pairlist is also mandatory if you want to download data for pairs and want to test your trading strategy on. All the other possibilities I will talk about next are not suitable for backtesting. So, besides this static list, you can also command the bot to use a non-static list that will filter all the pairs of that list type. And it will then update regularly at the specified refresh interval and then provide a list of pairs based on the list type. And these following other pair list types are now available with the bot. A volume pair list where the pairs are filtered and then only the configured amount of pairs with the highest volume is used for trading. A percentage change pair list where pairs are filtered based on the percentage change in price over time. A producer pair list is used when you connect multiple bot instances to each other and where the bot will listen and fetch pairs from another upstream producer bot. A remote pair list is actually a list that is curated by a third party and provided via a web link, or you can specify an external file on your own system as a pair list. And the market cap pair list makes use of the CoinGecko website and filters and sorts the pairs based on their current market capitalization. Now, if you want to know more about the specific configuration of the pair list function, then read the documentation about that on the following link. This documentation is excellent and provides you with all the necessary information you will need to configure this neat feature. Another feature that actually existed for a long time is the possibility to test multiple trading strategies at the same time and see how they perform in comparison to each other. Again, I'll do a demonstration to see what I mean. The usual command for backtesting is this command. And if you open the help section of the backtesting argument, then you will see that there are also some other options that you can add to the backtesting argument. And here you can see that there is also a strategy list option. And for this to work, you will have to provide a list of strategies you want to compare with each other, together with a single time frame for testing. I have prepared this command to check out multiple strategies on the 15-minute time frame. And after the backtest is finished, you will get the results of all the individual strategies in one single output. But also at the end, it will present an overview of the chosen strategies in one single output. Now for this specific example, I might have chosen the incorrect strategies because only the Bollinger Band is profitable, but I think you'll understand what I mean. The only downside of it is that this table does not tell you the full story, and you will have to compare other factors like the Sharpe, Shortino and other ratios and performance indicators to get the full picture. But the table will give you a quick head start on which algorithms you can concentrate on and put your time and effort in them. And you probably have already noticed in these examples that the backtest report in your terminal looks more informative and polished. It is also extended with more information sections so that you can analyze your trading strategy's backtest performance even better. Let's do another simple backtest and see which information you get from the output. The first section in the output is the performance by pair, with the best performers on top and the worst performers at the bottom. This table gives you insight into which pairs are responsive to your trading algorithm. You can tweak the pairs in your configuration to find out what happens if you remove the worst performers, and maybe the end result is even better. But be aware of survivorship bias, because in the future these pairs might not have the best performance if you do actual trading on. The next table shows if there are still open trades at the end of the backtest, and these are forced to exit if you want to determine the end results. If you use multiple conditions to enter and exit the market and you gave each one a recognizable tag for further analysis, then these next tables are for you. The enter tag stats, the exit reason and the mixed stats will give you an overview of which enter and exit reasons or combinations of these added the most to your profits or losses. And with this information you can decide to disable enter or exit reasons altogether or want to tweak these so that they have a better performance. The exit reason table almost always have the stop loss and ROI entries as well, since most strategies makes use of these too. For example, if you see that you get stopped out way too much, maybe it's time to widen the stop loss setting so that the trade has more room to breathe. And it might be that your strategy's performance rises because of this added space in the stop loss setting. However, there's also a disadvantage because if you do get stopped out, it will be a greater loss. So there are some tough decisions to make here. The summary metrics shows you a grand overview of all the performance indicators the bot currently calculates for you. And here you can find out how the many ratios perform in comparison to another, hypothetical gains and losses in a drawdown, the amount of trades, win streaks, lose streaks, etc. etc. And I personally think that this is one of the most important features of the trading bot, one that is hardly found anywhere else in free and open source software. And I greatly appreciate the effort the developers have put into this. The recursive analysis function deserves some explanation before demonstrating. Recursive analysis in Freqtrade checks if your strategy's indicators give consistent results when less historical data is available. In backtesting, the bot has all the data, but in live trading, exchanges only provide the limited amount. And this can cause some indicators, especially ones that rely on previous values, to behave differently. The recursive analysis tool simulates this by using different amounts of data and comparing the results. If there's too much difference, then you might need to adjust your setup. This is a good way to make sure your strategy also works reliable in live trading and not just in backtests. Now the documentation states the following about the results interpretation. The column headers indicate the different startup candle count used in the analysis, and the values in the table indicate the variance of the calculated indicators compared to the benchmark value. Now users should assess the table per indicator to decide if the specified startup candle count results in a sufficient small variance so that the indicator does not have any effect on entries and or exits. Unfortunately, use of this analysis has some caveats too, and you can check these on the website. Now I think you should be aware of this function to check out any discrepancies in your trading algo and solve these before using it live. And this can be a valuable tool in your arsenal. Another argument that should be in your arsenal is the lookahead-analysis feature. The website of Freqtrade explains this about lookahead-bias. Important is the sentence, backtesting initializes all timestamps at once and calculates all indicators in the beginning. This means that if your indicators or entry exit signals could look into future candles and falsify your backtest. This is also written again a little bit further down the page. Any backtest will populate the full data frame, including all timestamps at the beginning. If the programmer is not careful or oblivious on how things work internally, which sometimes can be really hard to find out, then it will just look into the future, making the strategy amazing but not realistic. And what this means is that the backtest first creates a full data frame of all the candle and indicator information and then looks for signals. Let's read a little bit about the workings of the command. It will start with a backtest of all pairs to generate a baseline for indicators and entries and exits. After the backtest ran, it will look if the minimum trade amount is met, and if not, cancel the lookahead analysis for the strategy. After setting the baseline, it will then do additional runs for every entry and exit separately. When a verification backtest is done, it will compare the indicators as the signal, either entry or exit, and report the bias. After all signals have been verified or falsified, a result table will be generated for the user to see. Now, this is useful information to remember from now on. Let's see which options this argument has. This command at least has to have some information about the strategy to run, a time range, time frame, and let's also point it to a config file. The results table says that there are 20 signals in total and no biases detected. So 0 biased entry and exit signals in this case. Now some people responded to earlier videos and stated that the presented strategy has lookahead bias, but when I test the algo with this approach, then it does not detect any of it. So my tip for those people is to first test your assumption of a bias with this feature, and if it's truly detected, then please show in the comment section, preferably with your outputs so that you can inform the community about it. My final demonstration of a feature that is long available but maybe unknown to some of you is about the conversion of data from one data type to another. Now current versions of Freqtrade, I believe it started from 23.8, will download backtesting data from the exchange and save it in feather formatted files by default. However, if you have a dataset that is older and in JSON format and you want to convert it to the feather format, then this is the command you are looking for. Let's consult the help file again first. We at least need to know the source format, destination format, and also the exchange of which we want to convert data for, if we have data for multiple exchanges. So for the current Freqtrade version, you can use the following command to convert your data from JSON to feather. Instead of using the exchange option, you can also use the location of the data with the data dir option to convert the files. Let's check out the directory where the data resides. And there you have it, all the feather and JSON files side by side. Now you can also convert between feather and Parquet data, zipped JSON or HDF5 for example. And with this demonstration, I'm at the end of this video. I hope you learned a lot about these features, and if you do, then please leave a comment or like the video. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye!